Ruben, what we are gonna do then? Slew them. My pipe gonna make you hype to the sky.
Deja Vu started in the summer of 1995. It was originally set up as a UK house and garage radio station. After a meeting with the management and some DJs at the time, it was agreed the station was going to finally come on, showcasing the best that London had to offer.
Yeah, it basically started with my sister. Basically, she used to listen to Chicago house music, going way back in 1977. She used to take me along. I loved the music, and then one day I met a couple of guys, and they were part of the West Ham crew. Right, we met up down at Echo's nightclub. I had a meeting with them. I said to them, look, because at the time I didn't have no money to fund it. They had the money to fund it, so they said, all right, there you go, here's your money, go start. So we started off Centre Force. It was me and Jimmy the Music Man. Anyway, we started Centre Force, and then, cut the story short, we done well. We was into acid house, and then I left that crew and I started up Deja Vu with Laura.
I was in a relationship with Big Jim at the time, and he came to me because he was friends with Roger, and they both wanted to do this station. Roger was funding his half, and Jim asked would I get involved and fund his half, and I was like, yeah, cool, okay, let's do it. I came in on the promotion side of things and started to look after the studio side more of things, and timetables and making sure DJs turned up on time. I remember being in work, because I used to work evenings, and I'd be like doing my job and ringing DJs and saying, where are you? Come on, where are you? You need to be there. Or...
In the genre of house and garage, we had some major players. I'm talking about Mike Roughcut Lloyd, Pied Piper, Hubert, Wayne Pasha. We had the original DJ Bigger, Mickey Sims, Reggie Hammond, Floyd Patterson, Roger, the Bubbling Crew. We also had DJ Yankee was on the station, MC Munchie, and of course former Olympic boxer Audley Harrison started on Deja as well as MC Majestic.
First birthday bash was amazing. Like I said, it wasn't just Powerhouse, we took over the meat factory behind as well, because the tickets were just selling at a rate that no one expected, so we had to take the second big building behind.
I've got the original launch of Deja flyer. So the launch party took place on Friday the 22nd of December 1995 at the Powerhouse. Now the Powerhouse on Waterton Road, some people will know it as Bel Air, some people will know it as Shinola, some people know it as Club Space, and in later years EQ Nightclub. So the event took place Waterton Road, Stratford E15, Deja Vu, 98.2 FM launch. In later years we took the frequency 92.3 and 92.4. What's really interesting is that the launch took place at Powerhouse, Waterton Road. The second birthday bash, there's not many of these flyers left. The second birthday bash took place in 1997 at the Stratford Rex.
Back in the day, I was running telepathy back in the day, yeah. So I had a lot of interaction with various radio stations back then. I decided that I was fed up in giving them money, yeah, paying them for advertising, yeah. And in an ideal world, I'd like to start my own radio station. Which initially I was going to start my own radio station, but it just so happened that I bumped into Laura, who had Deja Vu. If you want to get involved in Deja, it's not a problem, because at that point she was running the radio by herself, I believe. Now you've got to bear in mind, I've been involved in the industry a significant amount of time prior to that, and had various venues prior to Just to give you a little insight, I started at Marshgate Lane back in 1990. We was doing 2,500 people a night down there. I left Marshgate Lane and went to the Wax Club. We used to run telepathy every Friday night at the Wax Club. Prior to that, but you've got to remember, I was advertising with these stations anyway. A massive incentive to get involved in Deja when Laura suggested it to me, because A, I wanted to run my own station, but B, more importantly, Deja was a big station then. So when that opening became available, it was a no-brainer for me. I just jumped straight on it. You know, there were loads of credible DJs on Deja when I got involved, which was good for me because the hard work had been done. The only thing it didn't have was structure and management, and that's where I jumped in. The Deja, the studio, was based right on top of my nightclub, EQ nightclub. Right, EQ nightclub was formerly, for those of you that don't know, it was Powerhouse, and prior to that it was Club Space, and prior to that it was Shinola, Malden, yeah, based in Malden Road, which is now the official Olympic site. Back then, I think them time there, Genius was engineering for the radio, Diesel was about, yeah, and you know, the station, as I've always said and still maintain, right, on the FM dial, Deja Vu was it and all about it. Yeah, there were other stations around at the time, but you know, in my own mind, Deja was a very successful station back then.
I remember at the time of first starting on Deja Vu, because I went to the launch party, and me going to the launch party, I immediately knew that was the platform for me. Once I had got there, I'd made up my decision, I'm going to stick around on this platform. Growing up around Stratford, I was in my mid-20s at the time, and my first house that I bought in Stratford, off Chobham Road, Hewan Road, in fact, I was living there at the time of me getting, you know, on Deja Vu, and sort of being around the area, what Stratford looked like then, how the area has changed over the years, and going to some of the areas now. I mean, I was with Sting earlier on today and was looking for, trying to see if we can find the location of Marshgate Lane where a lot of the telepathy events used to go. It's very different now. We look at the different areas, the Wax Club, EQ, Waterden Road, a lot of the spots. It's changed a lot over the years, and being part of an area, a network, a community, this is before internet as well, how we used to get our music, how we used to meet at regular radio meetings to network with the guys, and that's kind of how bridges were made and connections were made and teams and crews were assembled. So it was a very interesting time.
Yeah, I lived in Stratford 25 years, born and bred, so Carpenter's Road, all of that. I am Newham, bro, all the way. So from when I first got into the music world, the reason where I come from mic-wise is this side of the pond is Skibbity, rest his soul, rest in peace, and the other side of the pond was DMX. So if you put Skibber and DMX in a grinder with some UK music, that's where the Bubble Bye come from. That's where the Bubble Bye come out of. Wow, so yeah, if like DMX and Skibber creatively had a baby, it was me.
You're going to have that person come with their influences, that person come with their influences, that person jump on that and interpretate it in their way. I came from a jungle producer and DJ's background into garage, so it only stands to reason when I start making garage music, it's going to have some bass on that, it's going to have a certain style to it. I'm bringing my influence to the table.
Started DJing drum and bass when I was like about 15. Then I got a job at Deluxe's record shop. So then I got to know all the top drum and bass producers like Shy FX, Ray Keith, Brian G, Ronnie Size, Hype, like everyone you can think of I built a relationship with them because they used to come to the shop and drop off the vinyls, and I used to get like TPs.
Sprinkle on top the fact that I came from the jungle background. Now I'm producing garage tunes, so it's inevitable my music is going to start evolving, and that's what's happening. The music evolves, everyone has their influence. In the latter part of the 90s, let's call that when we was doing the Debt Collectors, because I had hooked up with Rob the Reach at the time and we were producing as the Debt Collectors, and he had his musical influences and I had mine. We was working with a few MCs at the time. We was working with your God's Gift, your Preciouses, your Forces, your Vinyls. There was so many MCs around Deja and the garage scene at that time. As DJs and producers, we started stepping it up. As MC hosts, they started stepping it up. They would step it up, we would step it up. Before you know it, it sounds like something else is coming out now. Sounds like it's now turning into something else. Things evolve. We now found ourselves in the late 90s. I always remember as Debt Collectors, we started, having some heavy tunes. I always remember we had guys like Lethal B came down.
And I linked up with like Skepta, Waggy, Lethal B. Well, Lethal B lived on my estate, so I kind of brought him.
So I started going studio by myself. So I started linking couple producers, big up Deluxe. I done one little tune by myself.
Yeah, get a man off the lyrics this year. When I in the room, bare man never stare. Look at that boy, thinks he's a top bread. Nowadays, you know I don't really care. When I go up, I don't go screw bread. Job bare, I'm bare. Hey, what did I say? Be careful, yeah, bare funks in it.
But then like more Fire Crew, they was on my estate as well, so I kind of brought them on the radio, put them together, introduced them to Chubby Dread, and they done well and I got a top 10 here, and it just kind of all spiraled. Then I met Dizzy. I had to put my life on the line for grime. When More Fire got the top 10 and then Dizzy got signed, it was like, oh, thank God, now they understand. First of all, I started with More Fire Crew and a few, and I done an event called Young Man Standing. So there was no social media, there was nothing. People didn't know what anyone looks like, nothing. All they heard was a voice at the radio. When I done Young Man Standing and brought the voice from the speaker box to the stage and saw 2,000 kids turn up 2 hours before the venue opened, that's when I knew we was onto the winning thing. Everything going on throughout the week of the Grime Lot and the Trouble, so I had to narrow it down to like, you lot got one day and then stay out the way. That was it basically. Except me. So I had a couple of days here and there, but everyone else had to stay on the Monday. So I had to put the best of the best. And that started with like Slew Them, Rough Squad, Tinchy Strider. Like More Fire Crew was still about those times, Lethal. Roll Deep started their crew on Deja. Roll Deep started on Deja. Nasty Crew. Yeah, the biggest one that I'm glad I fought for, that's turned out amazing, is Skepta. Skeps and that came to get a show from Meridian, and it was like there was no shows. That the waiting list, everyone trying to get on the radio at that time, it was the hottest thing in the country. There was no shows, and like, so, and I fought and I said, you know what, I'll make a show up for him and switch the radio on early.
In terms of culture and significance, I mean, we have to be careful we don't downplay this, and sometimes it's about giving people their flowers and dues. Deja made a very positive contribution towards not just London culture, it was the whole of the UK and further afield. We were considered leaders in the UK garage scene. There were even reports done by Ofcom in the early 2000s that actually showed that Deja Vu had a significant listenership. In certain instances, more listeners listening to us than nationally recognised legal commercial radio stations. In terms of our impact towards shaping and contributing towards UK music history, heritage and culture, I mean, you've only got to look at the people that had started on Deja Vu. We've got a long list, a proud heritage of a lot of artists, performers, MCs, producers, and film directors as well, that started on Deja Vu and went on to do great things.
Again, I'm doing these drugs, I'm trying to find radio. I was always a ringer, innit? I always look older than my actual age. So I got away with a lot. You know what I mean? Like, even, I don't want to bait up the thing, but certain pirate radio stations, obviously you had to be over a certain age. I wasn't over that age, but I was just gassing just to get on the radio. I was just lying, innit? And then sometimes, like, when I was going into like my first year of college, you know, you can go in a bit later, some courses. Bro, there was times where I remember I was just calling sick, and these times I'm just out. I'm taking a train. I'm taking the DLR from Lewisham to Stratford, trying to find out where Deja is, because I've heard that Deja's around that way. I grew up watching Dizzy and Titch on the Roof and these things, so why can't I be on them stations? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the best. I didn't care. Because again, like, I can say that I was on Deja.
Yeah, we grew up making music in our bedrooms and pressing them onto acetate vinyl and trying to get it out there. And then we bucked up on pirate radio station Deja Vu FM. And we kind of had a voice for ourselves.
So I was an avid listener for Deja. I used to listen to all genres, but grime really shouted out to me. I think because it was in its infancy, so I connected with it being like a young person. Off the back of that, I started going to the raves, and me and my friends were regulars at the raves, and Diesel saw that, so he would meet up with us at Stratford Rex at the box office when the flyers got printed, and we would meet him and would distribute the flyers wherever we would go, whether it be in Newham, outside of Newham, so like anywhere we travelled to, Walthamstow, Ilford, we'd flyer and we'd encourage people to come to the rave. Main one was Stratford Rex, but we used to go to Palace Pavilion and we used to go to EQ as well. And it's come full circle, because when Westfield opened, I started working in Westfield, and even like my colleagues used to be wondering like what was here before, and I was like, well, don't you know there was history on this site? It looks completely different now, but along with the factories and the bus station that used to be there, EQ and Deja was here, and everyone that knew that it was there.
Turn around.
Yep.
That brown building is EQ nightclub.
This one here?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're very proud of our heritage and positive contributions towards shaping what is now known within our music culture. As a station that had a lot of its years within this part of the East End, around Stratford, around Waterden Road, down the Romford Road, Marshgate Lane. We had a studio at Marshgate Lane. We've done a lot of streams from the Stratford Rex. And we're very proud of our heritage.
It's so important that we do it properly and tell the truth and make sure everybody that's been part of that journey gets mentioned. If we just talk about Skeps and the big ones, it's not going to be fair, because that's not what made the scene. The elites came from us all working together.
Well, the future is still about celebrating our history and our heritage, but it's also about looking how we can adapt to modern day. You know, people listen to music differently. The world has changed. We're not living back then. So to just continue doing what we done back then, it's not really the thing for us, but it's paying homage and recognising where we come from. It's being proud of our history and heritage, and looking at things don't really change in the sense of there's like a 10-year cycle, I like to put it. Things come back round, and what I tend to do is I look at how things were done and why we existed. Like, why did Deja Vu exist? Why did a pirate radio station? Why was there a need for pirate radio? Is there still a need for pirate radio? Playing real music, authentic music, underground music, supporting, playing underplayed music, underrepresented music, up and coming artists, giving people their first taste of the music industry, their first airplay, their first performance. So we still continue to do that to this day. We use online platforms, video streaming, audio streaming. We do live shows, podcasts. So we're still very much about celebrating and bringing that raw energy, that raw talent, and nurturing it going forward. We do it in different ways now. We don't broadcast as a pirate radio station. So we take it to venues and do live shows in the same raw format. Like The Roof with Deve Power. We've got a lot of live streams and showcases coming up. We've got the Powers talent show as well, open mic. and we're still celebrating UK underground, underplayed, underrepresented music, giving people their first taste of the industry. So it's very much our future model and what's needed, and that's why we continue to be around.
EQ, Waterden Road, right here, pretty much this area here, this corner, yeah, infamous, lots of things went on here. EQ, Shinola, Bel Air, Club Space, Powerhouse.
Waterden Road, E15, is what we knew it. I met you here, and as I say, not a lot of people could work out, and it took us a minute or two to try and work out, was EQ nightclub here, was it there? Because you've got the copper box right there, you know, stay there.
I remember the allotment being there.
There.
Yeah.
So this is the area of EQ nightclub. Waterden Road, we knew it as Stratford.
Yes.
We knew it as Stratford.
Yeah.
And this is actually where Deja Vu in December 1995 had its launch party. See it there?
But you know what you forgot about as well?
Oh.
In this immediate area, the Wax Club, which was at the end of this road, yeah? That was the foundation. Tara's, Telepathy, Marshgate Lane, and not that far away to Stratford Rex, all within a 1 mile radius.
That's right.
If it's warm, I'll take it to the mattresses. Where were you back then? Where were you back then? Man was putting in work on the roof back then. With a few man them, swear no word of a lie, I'm the truth right now. I was the truth back then. Man better call Rooney for some proof right now before we do fact checks.
But man can't try and school me on this. Man can't try and school me on that. Been there, did this and I done. Man been there, did this and I done that. Man run up in houses, run up in flats. Slapped up dogs and slapped up cats in beef. Man come with this and that. Man can't try and school me about this. Man can't try and school me on that. Been there, did this and I done. Man been there, did this and I done that. Man run up in houses, run up in flats. Slapped up dogs and slapped up cats in beef. Man come with this and that. No love, man, I'm moving.
Them think man about till man start checking credentials. Wreck instrumentals. They know about the pen game, but man I still led them with pencils. They ain't been to the mountain once. Shaolin monk when I step in his temple. Tag team man sing legends assemble. Backseat younger step out with men's tools. Ryus and Kens. Why you with them? Rude boy man bigger tread. That's for nice. I see my youth through the lens. That's fish I believe don't true for your rep. And still I reload do it again and then deny. Mutual friends when I ask why did I? What? Why did I? Repercussions. Steven, I even something. 5 nights, 1 wet, that's even numbers. Quit it up, man, still a reaper coming. See, I'm way too gifted. Killer MC with bit different flows like a killer MC with presence alone, level and tone. Timeless and definite.